I forgot something really important that I should go over in case anyone wants to hear. I mean, it's probably too late for today. But you never know. And, I thought it was tomorrow. The thing is, if you believe what's said in the New Testament, you don't think you really don't take any of the consequences very seriously. Because it says as long as you believe in the dude, everything's okie dokie. But that's not the truth at all. Unless a person does teshuvah for whatever transgression they make, they will go to Gehinnom, to hell, whether for a little while, or for forever, until they're the essence that makes them a living being ceases to exist, and they're just the raw material that God put in there to start with. And for a goy, that's everything. There's no different punishment. So the same punishment for stealing a penny, or for murder, or for observing Shabbat. At least in this world, anyway. It's all death. There's a great deal of variance of severity on in a person's suffering that they have to go through. And it doesn't matter what a person wants to call it. It's it's a reality. When a person in this world transgresses one of the laws, they damage the soul. They get it dirty with all this with this filth. And in order for a person to either eventually go to get into heaven, or in order for the material to be clean enough that makes up the soul to return where it came from, it has to go through a long and painful process. But God is the real God, the creator of everything, not a son or an uncle, or a nephew, or a rabbi, or a Buddhist statue, or a tree. The real God is infinitely merciful. Not that he allows a person to say some magic words and instantly have infinite good. That that is not good at all. I mean, use your intellect, use your reasoning, and think about it. Is it fair and just for someone that's destroyed all the world, or done all kinds of damage, and then to just say some words and not do anything as far as making an effort to make amends with all the people that they've destroyed, and they can just skip la-di-da straight to heaven forever? bask in God's amazing light. All the people that really sacrificed everything to do good and to fulfill His will their entire life, that would make their reward pretty much meaningless. Their effort, and that is wholly unjust. I've said it over and over again. The Hebrew language holds all the secrets that everything, the entirety of creation. So does the Torah, but the Hebrew language itself does that almost on its own. The Yeshua is just salvation. That's a name that people, Hebrews, Jews from, around that time, used fairly commonly. But all it means is salvation. Salvation can appear to come through a man, like someone like Moshe. But all the man is a vessel for God to interact with the world. Man is nothing more. As great as Moshe was, he's still just a man. The salvation always comes from God. The secret to the name Yeshua is that the Hey signifies God and holiness. The last Hebrew letter. It looks kind of like a lowercase n with like a missing spot on the left side up at the top. Oh, I forgot I used the thumbnail. It's if I remember correctly, it's the fifth from the top right. If Hebrew is read right to left, but Hey represents a blessing, and a blessing from God. And like Avram was Avram until he got God's blessing and he became Abraham. And I'm not that clear on all the names and their relations in the Torah. But I think it was I know it was Sarah or Sarah, but I can't remember. I think it was I think it was Avram's wife, but I could be wrong. I don't want to make any grievous errors. Her name was I believe Sarai until she got a blessing, and she was barren until God gave her the hay in her name, and then she had a child, and since God is not a man, Jesus can't be a Yeshua, because he certainly didn't bring us salvation. He did the entire opposite of that. And so it's if I didn't believe in and know how everything, how a small a small portion of things work, I would think it was ironic that if you remove the hay, it becomes Yeshu, Yumakshimo Viziko, which is may his name and his memory be blotted out. But that won't happen for a long time. But eventually it will. The other thing that I found recently that is just more on the mountain of proof that the New Testament is fake is that it's another thing from the Hebrew language, from the Aleph Bet, from and it's right in one of God's not his names, but his something he's known by, his seal, the Emet, the truth, Aleph Mem Taf. The God was there in the beginning. He's there right now, and he will be there. He will exist after everything else is gone. In the thumbnail, all the letters Aleph Mem Taf are highlighted in gold. And the Aleph is also Adam, the first man. And while he wasn't there in before everything, he was there in the beginning in Bereshit. And we're close to the middle where the Mashiach comes, and that's the Mem. But even with what people think of as an eternity, we even after we leave this world, we are not forever. Only God is forever. And he will be the only thing there at the beginning, at the now, and at the end. Not man, not the Mashiach, nothing else. Nothing but him. En od milvado. Quite literally. And all he has to do is not do any, not do. All he has to do is pause and stop creating, and everything disappears forever, as long as it is his will. The other important thing for goyim to know, that want to observe holidays, or try to keep Shabbat, is you won't be rewarded for those things. You'll be clearly punished. You're forbidden, as plain as day in the Torah. And believe me, if you're if you're anything like I was, which I think at least a couple of you are, you look at a lot of Jews and you see that they're according to the Torah, they're wicked, and you think that why won't they do what God wants? And you think that objectively you're more observant than a lot of Jews are. And it's easy for a person to think that to let the Satan fool them into thinking that they're more righteous, and that maybe God gave up on the Jews, or even if that's not what you think, just that you're you're more observant and more righteous than they are. The thing that people have to realize is that all the stuff that is easy for a person to do is really not what they're, unless it's commanded for you in the Torah, it's not an obligation. The things that people have a hard time doing are what they're commanded to do. That's the whole point of the Satan, of a person's Yetzer Hara, their evil inclination. It's to come to keep them from doing the things that they're obligated to do, and to entice them to do what they're either not obligated to or forbidden, as a substitute for what they are obligated to do. No matter if you're a Jew or a Gentile, it's the same phenomenon. But the difference between the Yetzer Hara of the Goyim and a Jew is the Jew is obligated for way, way more. So their Yetzer Hara is massive. But it has to be because their reward is so unimaginably infinite and awesome if they just keep the laws as best they can. And never give up trying. And so everything that is likely in your heart, I've lived through because I had the same struggles. I mean, it started like 6 years ago where I was really back when I was still a horribly disgusting person that was still trying to live like God didn't exist. But still, everywhere I looked, I saw these signs that all pointed in one direction. And the whole time, I knew it's not every single Jew is an evil banker. But still, I would the more I learned, the more animosity I kind of got. Like even though I was definitely not fulfilling pretty much anything I was supposed to do, I was a liar and a thief and on and on down the list. I think the only thing I didn't actually commit was physical murder. That, and I've never actually. Well, I guess I've eaten a live oyster, but I'm not sure. I don't know if that qualifies as tearing a limb from a living animal. But it's you know something I went over the other day in. Hey Joshua, how are you doing? Something I went over the other day in Perkei Avot 2:4. Do not judge your fellow man until you have reached this place. So a goy can't ever judge a Jew until they're a Jew. That's interesting. You brought up Yiddish, Lee. I've been thinking about that lately. That was one of the things that there's certain things that just just don't seem right to me, and it's one of those tests, just like I was talking about with the test of how a person judges someone else, especially someone that is firstborn, that is obligated to do so much more than they are, and they have no idea how hard it is because they're not them. But the thing everyone has to remember, no matter if you're a Jew or a Goy, is that whatever a person is obligated to do, both positive and negative commandments, everyone has the ability, no matter how hard they find it. Everyone, I can't remember the source or the verse, but it's in your heart and in your mouth to do it. Meaning the Yetzirah Tov, a person has a good inclination, has, every person has, they have the ability to overpower their Yetzer Hara. And it's in your mouth is the speaking Torah. And that doesn't necessarily apply to the Goyim as far as, or at least as much as it does to the Jews. But still, still it does. Just a whole lot less, and not as intensely. And so and I kept, this weird feeling kept growing, and it was like, I started to, what I perceive as hate, what I saw as wicked Jews, and slowly became to at first it was just kind of like a recognition that observant Jews aren't bad, like they're doing what they're supposed to do, even though I really had no idea what that was, or I definitely wasn't doing that myself. Sometimes a person just sees something that is right and they know, even though they have no concept why. But the thing about a person keeping all the more laws than they're supposed to, especially the forbidden laws for a goy, is that it's one thing if you're a man or a woman alone and you never come in contact with someone else, especially if you don't have kids. But as soon as any of those things is added to the equation, you become a partner in all kinds of horrible acts. Because I had mentioned before that the Goyim can't desecrate God's name, and that's not exactly true. If other people think that they're a Jew because of certain things that they do or how they act, but they don't do it 100%, they desecrate God's name. Because it's not, reality matters, but perception is just as important. It's like speech, even though a person may not intend to destroy someone's life with the words that come out of their mouth, the fact that it happens is nonetheless a reality. And so a person is judged for their actions and the fruits that those actions bear out. And if you have a wife and kids, you are bringing destruction upon your own family, both in this world and the next. And not only that, aside from that, you make your kids are kind of like Tinuk Shinishba in that case. They're like captured babies where they don't know what's going on. They're raised that way. But if they grow up thinking that they're Jews and they're not, and they go to get married, no real observant Jew is going to marry them, and they're going to have their hearts totally crushed. Or maybe God will have some mercy on them and match them with a shidduch that will still marry them if they have the merit to convert. I said any goy can, if they really want to, and they, if you really want to join his nation with all your heart for the right reasons, you can do it for real. But if wherever you go to do that, if it's not hard, it's not real. It's not true. Because anything that's easy is a lie. And it's both to protect his nation and to protect you from doing something really stupid. Because once you accept that yoke, there is no going back. You can't cross your fingers. And the consequences for your actions are just immense. I mean, it's like everything from how you present yourself to other people every day, how you look, your business interactions. You are literally God's representative in the world. And even most of the secular people and atheists kind of admit that the Jews are his people. There's no in their heart, even though they don't really they say they don't believe in God or religion or whatever. But everyone looks at a observant Jew that behaves badly, and it's no one likes it, and that is a desecration of his name. So if you do convert, you have to know what you're getting into, and that is the truth. If you want to fulfill the whole of his Torah, that is what it takes. I mean, you should also know, if you do make it that far, you're going to have a lot of challenges. Because as soon as you convert, as soon as you immerse in the mikveh, everything that you love to do about learning Torah and running to pray or say a blessing, all of a sudden it will become like a ton of bricks. Unless you have some just amazing, miraculous merit that you've earned. Then it just might be a little harder. But you will find out firsthand how you literally get a new soul. You get a new piece of your soul that is supercharged, and it's not just with the power to keep Shabbat. It also comes with a super souped up Yetzer Hara. that is just as powerful as the new Yetzirah Tov you get. That's the way everything works, even for goyim that go up in their spiritual level. As soon as as soon as you make strides, bam. Like a lot of times it coincides, like right in the same instance almost. Like you start doing more and not failing as much, and praying and saying blessings and watching your eyes and trying not to do anything against his will, and you get all kinds of amazing help. And at the same time, you you can't deal with just stupid things, or you get like annoying inconveniences that for some reason just won't go away. But everything is good. It's just things that people have to push through. And once a person falls, to pick themselves back up, and because it will happen, whether great or small. Bezrat Hashem, it will be only small failures for everyone. I had an unpleasant dream this morning that I don't really remember. And that sometimes you're in a dream and you don't know what's going on. Everything is really foggy. You think you're having a good time, and all of a sudden, for some reason, God grants you the mercy to shake you awake, so that you'll see and realize what you're doing, so you can fight with all your might to prevent some horrible thing that you're going to do. Because if you don't fight with everything that you have and turn around right now, it's just going to get harder. No, I forgot to talk about the I think it's good for a person to be honest with themselves. I mean, there is nothing more than, honestly, in my entire life, that I would want more than to convert. But I'm just so deathly afraid. Even if I could go through all the immense hurdles that it would take to get there, I'm scared to death of failing. the thing I was going to say about Yiddish that relates to the other concepts I was talking about you know, a lack of perspective. And I mean, there's obviously things that are true in what a person sees with you know, when anyone doesn't observe the Torah. But that's how the Satan works. He takes the truth and then twists it in such a way that it gets you to take the truth and then uses it for evil. Convinces you to be arrogant, to be ungrateful, to not be understanding, and to ultimately transgress his will and his laws. And that's how I would feel about a lot of things that I would see when I would learn, you know, both the Torah proper, like studying certain things, like in the parashat, or hear things in lectures, and also just in seeing culture. You know, like wonder, why are they all different? Like, why is there like 13 different kinds of Jews? But you know, they did the best that they could. It's been rough for them. And so the same thing with Yiddish. You know, I always thought it was weird. You know, why is this like this Ashkenazi Hebrew dialect sound like German? And the more Torah I learned, the more it just like rubbed me the wrong way. But then with a great deal of assistance, I was shown that it's they had to make Yiddish because they were going to get totally white. You know, the Christians in Europe were going to force them to stop learning Torah, so they had to make up a new language that kind of sounded like, you know, sounded like some weird German dialect, so they could keep learning Torah. And it's things like that that are really important for a person to learn if they want to really understand and not get led off the right path while they learn Torah. Is that all these decisions that don't look right to a person's eye, they're all, you know, for one, we weren't there and we're not them, so we have absolutely no right to judge. And two is that all the things that the sages did, they did because it was his will, and that is all that matters. So even the things that don't seem right, or don't make sense, or even that may not currently apply or be needed. Once something is a once something is a halakha, it doesn't change. That's the way the Masoret works. And the other thing that's even higher than that is that you know, God forbid that the sages could be wrong, but even if that were the case, they are his judges, and they're held in such high esteem by the creator of everything that he will literally change creation as well as make leniencies, as long as they did it for his sake and for the sake of his nation. That's all that matters. So it doesn't matter if you look at things and think, well, yeah, but it says you won't add to or take away from the law. In that regard, it's not that you won't make more laws. It's it's that it's not you, but the Jews. It's that they won't. It's that they won't deviate. It's a it's a law in the Torah, the written Torah, to build a fence around the roof of a house, which most people will look at that and say, well, okay, not sure why they put that in there. But I guess if God said it, you got to put a fence around the roof of a house. And it's not because that's all you're supposed to do. It's because you're supposed to build a fence to keep people from killing themselves, both in this world and the next. And so that's what they did, and that's what they continue to do. And unfortunately, people are stupid and arrogant. So over the years, they've had to build a lot of fences. And some really arrogant and ignorant people, similar to myself, look at those kind of things and think that they're just tyrannical megalomaniacs. If they just not done all those things, God's Torah would be so much more beautiful and wonderful and magical and happy. And that's obviously not the case. They wouldn't have if they wouldn't have built the fences, there would be no Torah right now. God would have destroyed the world, because the Torah would have ceased to exist. At the very least, everyone would have become goyim, like shortly after the Enlightenment movement, or at any of the other various points in history where God got really violent. Yeah, the once you look at like the the different groups of institutions that claim to represent Judaism, and you see like what a real Jew is, someone that is will put their life on the line, literally, to honor his name, to keep his laws, to do whatever they can. Some of the Haredim and Eretz Israel get a bad name because the things that they the things that they do to try to keep their community from just falling apart, because the wicked government there is trying to steal their kids to turn them into goyim by recruiting them into the military, or secular people driving on Shabbat in their neighborhood. And so the news the news shows up with the police, and they take all kinds of video and photos and then plaster it everywhere, trying to make them look bad, and then constantly publish that they're leeches and that they should join the military and help defend the country. When one, they don't need religious Jews. Two, most of them wouldn't be very good fighters, because they study in yeshiva all day and they don't do anything, so they're not physically fit. They're not fit to like carry an M16 or a pack around and patrol. And two, any God-fearing Jew knows that it's not the army that protects the nation. It's the people that learn and keep His Torah. The other thing that I mentioned earlier about seeing the money in Christian organizations and so-called Messianic Judaism. When I first started learning Torah, like about a year and a half ago, at least more seriously than in the past. Generally, it was more like a hobby associated with like ancient, stupid stuff. But at that time, when I heard about Messianic Judaism, I thought it was just like Jews that were really into Mashiach, like the Chabadniks. Like, we want Mashiach now. When I discovered it was like Jews for Jesus, I was like, what the hell is that? Doesn't make any kind of sense at all. What are you even doing? I mean, one of the other things that just topples over the idea of Christianity is the fact that Jesus didn't fulfill any of the aspects of the temple. I mean, there's literally, if you think about it, there's no point to show up like, hey guys, I'm here, but I got to go away again, and just want to let you know that things will happen sometime soon. I'll be back. Wait for me. Meet me in Galilee. Like, why would you do that? Makes zero sense at all. Other than if you were the Satan and your point was to try to steal as many souls into Gehenna as possible, then it makes perfect sense. Well, I mean, that's really just a side bet. The real deal is that God needs some kind of an excuse in creation, so he made the Muslims and the Christians. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense if it will be just way too obvious that everywhere the Jews went, every so often, all these horrible calamities happen. Then it would be totally apparent to everyone, and there wouldn't be an exile. There would be just like either exterminated completely or, I mean, obviously that he wouldn't let that happen, but it would just be pushed into like some island nation somewhere, and then they couldn't fulfill part of their purpose, which is to bring light to the nations. I realized something today that I hadn't really thought about seriously as much as I probably should have. I When I originally started trying to do whatever I was doing, all I wanted to do was make sure people didn't like mass murder Jews and go off to fight in some fake war and get sucked into a trap. And and somehow I've sucked myself into a trap because now I'm essentially responsible for whoever will listen now. So I have to really take things seriously. Definitely. only only time and my actions will tell if it's a blessing. I used to pray for a way to reach more people. Now I am thinking the opposite of that, or at the very least, no more people. This is enough because I don't think I could handle more. 5 or 10 serious viewers that take things seriously is probably the limit of people's fates that I want in my hands. I mean, I really don't want that, but I do want to help people. But I also know that it's. I mentioned this before. One way a person knows what their purpose in life is through which character traits they need to refine are is whatever's hardest for them. And and most people might not think that I have a problem with ego or pride, but you guys aren't in my head, and you don't know the stupid things that I've done in the past with the smallest amount of reason to be proud. And so it's definitely scary. I can only imagine what kind of a serious jerk I was in my last Gilghoul. I was probably like some super rich hotshot douchebag. Or maybe not, I don't know. Or maybe it's just the residual stuff from whatever. And maybe I passed the money test, but I failed the pride test. There have been some times where I've had a moderate amount of money for compared to what I usually do, and I definitely got sucked into stupid things. But generally, it didn't take too long before God sent some kind of a stick to beat me with to make me run away from thinking I was super cool or or thinking about money too much. I was thinking about it earlier today, and that it's a mitzvah to destroy idolatry and to mock it, and so in that case, uh, if a person idolizes money, then that would be like an offering to God. to show them that they've done teshuva. Because that was the other part of the of the offering of Pesach, of slaughtering the lamb, because a lot of the Israelites, they worship the same idols that the Egyptians did, and so it was both a way to prove that they knew that, that it said that they didn't really worship the idols, at least not most of them. The Erev Rav definitely did. Most of the Jews, they just use the idols as an excuse to commit forbidden relations. And it was that way in Egypt, and it was that way once they got into Eretz Yisrael. And it's the same way now. Like Shlomo Melech says, nothing new under the sun. A lot of the Goyim, really do put faith in their idols. I saw something a long time ago that, when I really didn't, consciously acknowledge God as much as I should have, even though I had had numerous experiences that proved that there was a creator. I still, wasn't really aware of what the Torah was, due to not really, not being raised in proximity to Jews, and before the internet was really widespread. I knew this guy who was a Hindu, and he was doing something, and he like accidentally knocked one of these idols over, some like Vishnu or something like that, and like he was usually a really like easygoing, lackadaisical, or like fun guy, not serious at all, and definitely not what most people would consider religious. Like he knocked this idol over, and his entire demeanor changed instantly. Like he had just literally, desecrated God's house, or cursed him or something. He like put the idol back on its feet, and then prayed to it for forgiveness. And I just thought, why? What are you doing? There's nothing in there. Well, people are strange, and they do some weird things when, especially when they're raised to do those things. They have eyes, but they do not see, ears, but do not hear, mouths that do not speak, and hands that do not touch, and feet that do not walk. Fear them not, and put no faith in them. Because they cannot hurt you, nor is it in them to help you. And Ode Milvadoux. I just want to hammer something home as far as if you want to have any chance at sticking with it, as you learn, you're going to hear things that don't sit right and that really make you want to run away. As far as things that you'll read in the Torah, especially the things that rabbis will say from the Talmud, from the Oral Torah, or certain other works like the Zohar, or stuff like that. But just do your best to accept it for what it is. It's as uncomfortable as it might be, it's the truth. Even if it sounds like it's not. If it's from the ages, it's it may not be understood by people 100% accurately, but most of the fine details of that Goyim don't have a I think that's where the gingers don't have souls thing came from. It's the Goyim don't have souls. It's not that we don't have souls. It's that we don't have the extra piece that the Jews do. That's just a lower level. And there's most Jews never get all the never refine themselves to reach their full potential. There's way more than just the initial piece that they get. Like when a goy converts, or when a Jew has a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. I forget if it's then or when they're 20, or both. I can't remember, but it's somewhere around then. The other thing is that the language is so confused, and there's so many like there was so much censoring, both self-censoring and from the publishers in mostly Christian nations during when a lot of it was published, that it's hard to tell exactly who they're talking about. But most of the time, anytime they're being like really disparaging, they're talking about anyone that believes in anything but the Torah, like Christians or in some cases Muslims, or like occasionally they'll refer to like some of the really old stuff might refer to people that were like literal outright like barbarian idol worshippers. But that's not, not too many. Most of this, most of that stuff doesn't matter for what a person does. You just have to accept it. That if it is, if that's the judgment by God, then that's the way it is. And if it's been mistranslated, then it doesn't really matter, because the only way to anything affects a person is by their own acts. So it doesn't matter if the no-hide laws and a bunch of people want to murder a bunch of wicked goyim. The only way that happens is if we all deserve it. The best thing to always do is number one, make His will your will, but to not suffer too much is just do whatever you can to not earn the suffering. At least not the really screwed up stuff. That's one really challenging thing for a lot of people, except for just people with an amazing amount of emunah and fear of heaven, is that when you see those kind of people or hear stories about them, it's just like, man, if one day I could have like a thousandth of that much faith and trust in God, like Rav Yerom, his last lecture, I think it's Stump the Rabbi 128. He was talking about his cousin Rav Ephraim in Eretz Israel. They were handing out food cards for a grocery store to give to poor Jews on Pesach, and they had someone posted his home address and his phone number online after they gave the initial round of food cards out, and he had a line of like 300 people at his house. And there was one guy there that had his leg crushed in the tragedy at Marone, where a whole bunch of some stage or something collapsed, and a whole bunch of yeshiva kids died, and a bunch more got injured. And he was one of them. His leg got crushed, and I'm not sure if it was amputated or just like really screwed up, but he couldn't walk. I think he had like one leg he could walk on, and he what he took from the event was that because I guess they were there during Lag BaOmer. It's like a celebration where they study Torah for in the merit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he took it as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wanted him to publicize more Torah during the Lag BaOmer, so he started a kollel, a study group during Lag BaOmer to in the merit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I mean, it's hard for most people to keep their faith at any level after something like that, let alone do something, above and beyond. Like there was another story during one of the terrorist attacks in Israel where some some observant father went down to the street with his kid right when this Arab terrorist started murdering everyone, and it was like a little baby, like a year or two old, and the father managed to shelter the kid and save the kid, but he died, and the mother was like a minute behind getting outside, and by the time she got outside, the terrorist was dead, and she saw her husband murdered, but thank God the baby was still alive. And the news showed up hoping to get, some kind of shock piece of some observant Jew, doing something to make them look bad. And she's just bawling her eyes out. And she said something like, no one goes before their time. Every bullet has a name on it. Whatever he does is good, and that is what we believe. Like even in the most challenging, difficult, horrendous moment that aside from having the baby die as well, that a person could go through. She not only keeps her faith, but she does the second best thing that a Jew can do, is to glorify God's name at any time. The only thing that is above that is to do it when they're dying for that purpose, to observe His laws and to glorify His name. See, that's the kind of that's the kind of thing that the Goyim can't do. At least not anywhere near that level. And the really weird thing about a situation like that in the news is that almost all the secular people will look at that and think, religious nutcases. What a wacko. But all the people that really do their best, and even so, even a few secular people out there that have always had a heart of rock, something like that will break their hearts and be the one thing that gets them to start learning or to start listening to lectures or going to lectures. Start it'll be the one thing that wakes their soul up. But it's different for every person. However it manifests in their life, but everyone gets those. They may not be the moments that some people get may not be as intense as others, or they may not come as often, but every single person gets them. Some people get quite a few. And some don't get very many. But no matter how many a person gets, there's only a limited amount. Eventually the opportunities is going to run out if a person doesn't take the initiative and do what they can to break the rock that is their own heart and fight like hell to listen to their good inclination. And to start running away from evil as fast as they can. Because everyone knows in their heart what it is. At least the very basics that the Goyim are expected to keep. Everyone knows. Even things like Lashon Hara, people know in their heart. If they would just stop and think about something other than themselves and their desires. But people are so corrupted and twisted and polluted with tumah It's hard to think. It's hard to think right. Thank God for places like Bezrat Hashem and Rabbi Yeron Rubin and his Jewish Hashkafa uh, series and the Chazon Ish Emunah V'Bitachon. I think I watched like one of them months ago, and then I started to. I had a real serious bout of Yirat Shamayim, where I kind of let it stall me out. I was I was so afraid of doing something wrong, of something that I shouldn't do. But it was definitely good. I think it proved that I finally started to nullify my ego a bit and even though it was unnecessary, it was still good because I did it out of fear of heaven, and it wasn't detrimental. And then thankfully, through some great mercy, God had some other guy ask a question if it was okay to watch the Jewish Hashkafa series. Some other goy. So I've been watching the new ones whenever they come out for a couple months, and then going back and watching from the beginning. When I first figured, I couldn't learn stuff like that, I was really sad. I was like, I don't want to think like a goy. I mean, I know I don't really think like a goy anyway, but he's definitely not Musqueam. I just pray that I have pray that we all have the merit and the blessing to stick with it and not listen to the sweet words of the Yetzer Hara in our ear. And Amalek telling us that take it easy, relax. Those guys are fanatic. They have to be wrong. That's way too hard. Why would God be such a monster? God's a nice guy. He loves you. It's okay if you waste seed. Come on, it's natural. It's approved by 99% of doctors that are part of the American Medical Association. Go away. You know, there's some topics that you'll hear that definitely don't sound very holy at first, but the if a person really wants to do their best to get close to God, they have to apply all this stuff to every aspect of their life, and that includes things that most people don't associate with or think that aren't appropriate to discuss in that in the same scenario. But if you think about God all the time, and it's such an integral part of your life, you have to do something to try to separate your thoughts when you have to do certain things, like do anything in the bathroom, because it's not somewhere that a person should think about, at least not consciously and intense, with that intent. So I've been trying to think of something, and for the last like 6 months, generally I just used this, like repeated the same line in this stupid song that they play at baseball games. But that really doesn't work very well. I found something that really seems to work really well yesterday, and that's just very simple math. Just start by doubling numbers, and then just keep doing it, or I just keep doing it in my head, and that seems to help focus my mind somewhere for long enough so that I can get in and get out. And then start thinking about something real again. I still haven't finished my taxes. I've got the big ones done, but are these stupid local ones that I'm having a really hard time with, and I know it's something that I have to deal with because I have to. But there there's some things where it's kind of difficult, like a person has to put forth their effort, um, and it's definitely in proportion to their level of emunah, of faith that they have, and both in themselves, in that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and their faith that you know to know in their heart that God runs every aspect of creation, everything from government tax revenue services to the leaves on the trees and the mosquitoes that fly around so the frogs can eat. but I just don't feel like I have the merit to just not file tax forms, even though I don't owe anything. I just have to file for some stupid exemption. But it seems like every year there's always something that's changed, like some new website or my login credentials aren't saved in my web browser. Just just a sign that God loves me. Even though, for most people and for me sometimes it doesn't, those things don't feel like that at the moment. It feels like extremely frustrating and want to rip my hair out sometimes. But then I just try to use the tools that I've learned over the years to remove myself from the situation if I'm not forced to be there, and try to think, do I need to eat something or drink something or just take a break and do something else for a while. Try to ask for some help. And lately it always works. At least to be able to deal with it. No, I still haven't managed to get it done yet, but hopefully that can happen sometime before it's I guess it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But if I don't file, they'll just send me some late notice. The way a person should look at it is all these annoying things like this are definitely worse than the alternative. As if a person doesn't face these small things that really aren't that big of a deal, the the suffering and the judgment will compound, and then it'll really suck. Oh man, this hat is really small. My ears are like deformed. Not too bad, but it's getting late, guys. I know I should probably get ready for bed. I don't know how late you guys stay up, but sleep is good. At least in a decent, proper amount. I've been trying not to sleep too much lately, and get up early so I can try to try to learn and get all the things I need to do in the morning. That's one critical thing. A person has to make a schedule and fight for every scrap that they can learn, and then keep building on it whenever they can, and try not to make the inconveniences or obligations that get in the way. Don't make him an excuse to stop learning, because it's easy to do. If you do it for long enough, it becomes like air. You just can't live without it. And it becomes like a friend. Anytime there's a crisis, it's the first place you turn, because you know it holds all the answers. I used to never understand the stories about the sages, or even some of the great rabbis of the last, this generation, the last couple 100 years, how they would, all they wanted to do was study Torah, like nothing else. I mean, they would help people and teach, but most of the time, once they got old, there was always someone else to teach. So their students would teach other students, and all they wanted to do was just learn for most of them learned for like 18 to 20 hours a day, like pretty much all their waking hours. And the only time they stopped is to eat or drink something occasionally. And I always thought that seemed like kind of outlandish or impossible. But then also, like, at first it was like, why would you want to do that? It doesn't seem. I mean, I know it's an obligation, but 20 hours, that's crazy. But and the even the most righteous and devoted goy that studies Torah, what he learns will be nothing compared to what What did you get out of it? I can I can't even imagine how what that must be like. But I can understand the why now why all they wanted to do was learn. Because through learning his Torah, you get close to him. Even a goy can, however much we're allowed, depending on our effort. Just you know, just keep in mind to only learn what you're supposed to. I know it's hard. It's hard sometimes to focus. Hopefully, I can get some kind of direction for a study guide or an outline to follow. I mean, I already kind of have one that I've started to implement. With a great deal of his help, I'll keep at it and slowly keep adding to it. Whether whether in effort or in time, whichever one I can manage. Yeah, the stuff in the New Testament about the last days and the era of Mashiach is from a Christian perspective, it's they think they know what to look for, but the Satan is a smart builder. It's hard to say exactly how things will go or what they will look like, but the I would say that the likely thing is that God allows the Satan to use everyone's wicked desires against each other and themselves without them, without those people being aware of what's happening. And then all of a sudden, after all the horror, of course, but then all of a sudden everyone gets wiped out. I don't think anyone really knows what it's going to look like. It's time is always running out. A person never knows how much time they've got. I forget. Maybe I can find it in Perkei Avot. The yeah, here it is. Perkei Avot 210. Rabbi Eliezer said, "Let the honor of your friend be as dear to you as your own, and be not easily provoked to anger, and repent one day before your death." And that's one of those things that if a person didn't know Torah and didn't know how Jews think, is that well, I can just live it up, and then when I get old, then I'll do teshuva. But the rest that's not mentioned in there is that the obvious thing for anyone with a brain is that a person doesn't know when they're going to die, which is what his students asked, like, you know and he responded, of course, person may die tomorrow, so it's best to do teshuva today. And for most people, it's a lifelong process, both for for past sins and for unfortunately for most people, new ones. But hopefully, once you're aware of what's going on and the consequences and how to a roadmap to at least redirect yourself in the right way. Hopefully, those are small sins, and so to speak, anyway, not super severe things, and they're not as numerous and not as severe as they were before. And And then once the person knows about teshuva, you just you fail. You just immediately like, man, that sucked. I can't believe I failed. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I did this and that, and if it's to another person, then you try to fix it, and just immediately just force yourself. Like, don't let it stall out, because if a person lets it wait, it just gets harder, and then you forget. Like, then it just drifts on down the road, and then then you're like me. You're like, man, how do I remember like 4 decades of screwing up and all the things that all the things that I did wrong, let alone how to fix them all. Oh, well, as far as like once the Mashiach comes and the redemption here, I mean, there will be an end to this world. But once Mashiach comes, the I forget what it is. If I don't think it's that evil, like the Yetzer Hara, the Satan. I don't think I don't think he goes away, but it like God changes him, or he like through the redemption he's changed to where it it's no longer people no longer have the desire to transgress his laws, so it won't be the same. I forget exactly what like how it goes, but and then once that happens, it's like roughly 1,000 years of peace here, and then this world is destroyed. But actually, in a lot of the commentary and stuff, it says that in order for the for the 1,000 years of peace of Mashiach, it's this world has to be destroyed, but then it gets rebuilt. But for what people experience, that doesn't have to be anything we can even anything we can conceive of. For God, that's all he does is like whatever he does every day, every moment, and it turns from what we see now into you blink and all of a sudden it's like everything's different. That's all it takes. You don't have to like destroy the world like people think about massive earthquakes and volcanoes and tornadoes and stuff like that. I mean that could happen, but it all depends on what he wants and what we have the merit to witness or experience, or however you want to look at it. But then once that's over, it's it's the what people think of as eternity, I'm not sure if that's even really, technically possible for. I mean, it's obviously going to be a long time, but like I mentioned early on in the stream, the only thing that's really forever is God. Everything else is just some varying degree of time, whether it's something people can conceive of in shorter or a long length, or something inconceivable to people, just short of infinity or eternity or whatever. But this isn't like, I don't have a source for this in the Torah. This is just my own rambling. So take it for what it's worth, which is pretty much nothing. But the only thing that's forever is God. Everything else is have a beginning and an end. That's whatever he decides. It's it's honestly way above our pay grade, and even above, mostly above the pay grade of a lot of people, a lot wiser and more righteous than we are or will ever be. But a lot of them do a pretty good job of explaining for kindergartners like ourselves, so people can at least somewhat grasp it. But it's best not to think too much about all that stuff, because it's not certain for us whether whether we see it for what we could perceive as good or bad. We haven't made it that far yet. It's best to focus on. That's one of the things I learned from pulling weeds over the last couple of weeks is try to focus on what's in front of you. Don't don't reach too far off when you've got enough work in front of your face or in the immediate future. A person can learn from absolutely everything in life. Lessons that they can apply to a wide variety of things. Most importantly, things that can increase their faith and that they can use to apply to save themselves from making horrible mistakes or a lot of things. Once you start trying to do certain things, like especially being humble, being modest, and and not wasting seed, and also not speaking lashon hara. Those 3 or 4 things are huge for and being grateful for everything that you can conceive of, like, and I mean like everything, like every single thing in each. As soon as you think about whatever it is, like you know, whether it's tying your shoes or having some small inconvenience that's not there anymore, or of course, anything you consume like water or food or whatever, say a blessing. You start doing those things, and in a very short amount of time, you start. I mean, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't consider it miracles, but they are. You get a great deal of assistance in seeing what you need to see, and be guided where you should be going. But in order to reach the final destination that we all have, which is you know to not end up in Gehenna, ideally, but to do good and to do His will. Is that you always have to keep adding to it. There's never a point where it's like, okay, you've reached your goal, so you can just put it on cruise control. You hit retirement age, you're 62 or 65 or 94 or whatever the IRS says it is these days, and you don't have to work anymore. You can just go to Palm Beach and play shuffleboard all day. It never ends. You always have to keep moving up, because if it's like caloric. Not that the two are in any way, shape, or form comparable, but something to understand it by is like caloric intake. A person never has an even amount of calories, like equal to what they burn as what they eat. There's always either a surplus or a deficit. It's never the same. There's whether it's a very small amount in either direction, or whether it's a large amount and you lose weight or you gain weight. So is the same with your service to God. So if you're not going up, you're most definitely going down, even if you don't see it. I know that might sound like really challenging or frustrating, or like overwhelming to some people, but it's good. It's good for us, and that's another one of the parts about faith, about emunah and bitachon, is that a person has to constantly tell themselves these things, and live like David Amelech, King David, where he constantly talked about God and about his faith and about how great God was, and that in itself is how he had so much faith, was because he forced himself to by living it. I mean, even when he was on the run, and I think it's King Shaul was trying to kill him. He had so much faith in God's justice that and his will was so aligned with the truth that his prayer to God was that if I am guilty, please please let Shaul find me and execute your judgment, and if I'm innocent, please let me be vindicated. I mean, how many people have that level of faith to where you ask, like, if I'm guilty, let me take my lumps, however much they are. That's the kind of stuff that a person needs to read and internalize. And then make those thoughts your own thoughts. As hard as it may be. It's only God knows if we've passed the point where we can see the redemption with mercy and kindness. But there's never a point where we can't do something to sweeten the judgment, to change the decree from being quite so harsh. It's always good to to pray for the redemption to come with mercy and kindness. But there's also so many people that haven't done teshuva yet, and so it's kind of not nice to pray for it like right this moment or tomorrow. And it's also kind of presumptuous for most people to think that they'll even make it. On one hand, it's part of me thinks it's, you know, the people who think they're not worthy, that really do their best and fear and love God with all their hearts. They'll be shown mercy and they'll make it, but a lot of that's probably just my own wishful thinking. Because the reality is, we all stink pretty bad. Not physically, but with our what we've done to our souls while we're down here. But aside from praying for everyone to do teshuva and trying to help them, you know, physically, however you can. And I'm praying for the redemption to be with mercy and with kindness, or to at least guide people to have the merit, so that we can do our effort to sweeten the judgment. It's best not to really dwell too much on when it will happen, or what it's going to be like, or just fix the problems in front of you, and the problems in the mirror first, and try to help whoever is close at hand. But you know, it's a really simple concept to what I know. Both Proverbs and Psalms have similar things, but I can't. I think the one I'm thinking of might be from Proverbs, but I'm not sure. Shun evil, do good, and listen to words of Musar, of character refinement, or what's commonly translated as instruction, words of instruction, which is real vague. But it sounds really simple, but it's definitely anything but simple. I mean, there are certain things that are pretty obvious for a lot of people, like don't murder someone and don't steal. But once you get much further than that, it becomes really murky. If you don't have a really clear and really clear set of guidelines that are reliable and have an unbroken chain. From the beginning. And just so we're absolutely clear, and I don't, so that I fulfill the words of the sages, is a person shouldn't leave any doubt in what they say. I'm talking about the Torah and all the sages and all the teachers from Moshe to whoever teaches the truth now, which unfortunately for a lot of people isn't too many people. But I personally trust Rabbi Yaron Rubin. Everyone else has to make up their own mind. The one really critical thing, though, is to not be wishy-washy. I mean, some of you guys, I just don't get it. I mean, maybe that's too harsh. I do get it. I've been greatly lost before. But I mean, once a person finds the truth, if you at least take it into your heart and make the effort to put what you hear into practice, you'll never go anywhere else. You'll be fishing around and listening to 5 or 10 or 100 different people. Especially if they're all saying different things. That just doesn't make any kind of sense. So if that applies to you, I seriously beg you to consider and really think about what you're doing. So I mean, the only thing I get out of if someone agrees with me is a serious test of the Satan for my own ego. I do get something real if you do something that's real, though. I got one more step towards atonement for all the the things that I've done wrong. I mean, I always knew when I started that it was going to be impossible to save everyone. I just didn't know exactly what I was doing, or, save them exactly from what. I was still kind of in limbo land a great deal myself. And I would I would like for everyone to see to see the truth and to save themselves from themselves. I know it's not likely, and definitely not a very immediate, quick process for most people. Certainly wasn't for me. I'm really stubborn and arrogant and like to do things my way. What would be really great is if everyone would just you know I guess that's not really not realistic and not probably wouldn't even be you know be good if you guys started listening to you know uh, some rabbi that speaks the truth. I can only vouch for a few. I know there are more. It's just I've found the ones that I trust that work for me, and I don't want to go looking for anything else because it's a waste of time. But I do get a lot of benefit out of these, especially recently because they forced me to learn more and not just talk out of the side of my mouth or my neck or whatever this thing is, which is definitely good. I think I'm gonna go in and go to sleep soon now. I just noticed the moon looks pretty bright though. Man, time flies. I swear, it just seemed like a week ago that it was like a sliver. I guess that's 2 weeks ago now. It's the 14th, 15th of Nissan now. So that means it's pretty much full moon. Because Rosh Chodesh Nissan, the first of every month is a new moon. And the middle of the month is the full moon. Man, time's running out, guys. That's one thing I wanted to mention before I call it a night is, the Goyim are allowed to do so much of the mitzvot, but if you look, you can see things that you can learn from, and in all the especially Shabbat. Well, the Goyim are commanded not to keep Shabbat. You can still learn from the concept, and as it relates both to the redemption and to the world to come, like whatever world you're building, whether it's Gehinnom or Gan Eden, because while it's not 6 days literally, it's a person has a set amount of time in this world to get all their work done, whatever work that they desire, whether that's money and women and other people's stuff and murdering people with their mouths, or doing God's will. And as soon as the end of the week comes, that's it. There's no more work. Everyone gets their checks, and that's retirement. Some people racked up a huge debt at the company store, and some people managed to somehow work like a trillion hours of overtime, even though there was only like 6 days in a week. So take that into your heart and try to live like it as best you can to use it as motivation to do more, to learn more, to help people more. Especially to do more with what you already have. Because if you do that, then you'll have earned the merit to for him to give you more. Because you'll have proved a trustworthy employee, to where he can give you the keys to the office or the petty cash. because he knows you won't steal out of it. You'll buy stuff for the business that is serving his will. Guys, have a good night. Praise God.